And I identify with that because even in me in my 30s, I've already waned off of that shit so much. It's generally dudes who have some level of dysfunction in their life who are still on that, like, fuck bitches, get money up. That's it. So it's just, when you listen to him, you can tell that he's ready to.
Nah, I disagree with that. Your sex drive and your ambition dropping as you get older is a function of one thing and one thing only, and that's your testosterone levels going down, which do naturally start to decline after the age of 30 and start to decline rapidly after the age of 35, which ABBA, I'm pretty sure, is in that age range. So that's more than likely the accurate reason why you've waned off that shit. If you got in a nice healthy dose of, I'm not even going to go there, but wet pussy, perky tits, and fucking fat stacks of cash never fucking get old, dude. I don't think that shit ever gets old. AbaNPreach blasts the Manosphere. Let's talk about it. Video by Mediocre Tutorial and Reviews. And so this is an interesting video because we have two juggernauts, two heavyweights, AbaNPreach and MTR. MTR is kind of like a dating coach, Manosphere, men's rights, RedPill kind of guy. He ain't like fresh and fit and all of them. Like, he don't take it to that kind of extreme, but I would say that he is like RedPill. He's in the RedPill space, you feel me? And then AbaNPreach, they more or less don't really vibe with the RedPill ideology.
The title of the video that they uploaded is titled "Red Pillar Meets a Normal Man and Can't Believe It." So when they dip down in a relationship,
Red Pillar meets normal man and can't believe it. Okay.
Content, it makes for worthy discussion.
Sure.
So let's get after it. Without further ado,
what's your age?
That shit cracked me up, bro. His fucking little catchphrase.
7.
Are you single?
Yes.
How did that turn out for you?
A marriage and 2 children.
And then divorce.
And then divorce. Yeah.
How long was your marriage with your ex-wife?
How do you know?
How would a woman know that you're gonna drop a 10-incher on her if she hasn't even...
what the fuck?
Are you trying to say that magic isn't real?
Why does nigga sound like Nardwar, the interviewer? How do you know she's going to drop a 10-incher?
I think it's because your woman has, when you come to Miami, you see the real nature of women. It's not your fault, buddy.
About 20 years.
How do you go from having a whole family life to coming back out into the world as a single man?
So the thing I refer to as a ladder of love. People walk up the ladder of love when they're beginning a relationship. They say, oh, I really like you. I'll do this for you. The next person says, oh, if you'll do that for me, then I'll do this for you. If you'll do this for me. Well, I'm not going to do that for you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then I'm not going to do this for you. And then I'm not going to do this for you.
Yeah.
And they walk down the ladder of love. And at some point, people reduce themselves to the passion and the love and that chemistry, that oxytocin, that thing that really draws you together. It begins to die. And if you don't have the basis for the relationship things that you love to do together, then eventually you grow apart and you either become people who don't like each other, or you do what we did. You become like a brother and a sister.
Wow.
No,
Give a man a round of applause. This is why I often say on the channel, it's so important to hear older men talk about their relationships, right? To talk about their marriages, because oftentimes there's an insight there that often is not unlocked unless you've been into those type of situations. Now, I will also say, like, this ladder of love concept is an interesting one, because within the West, the ladder for men, right? The standards, the expectations, the requirements is long as damn hell. And I would say that because that ladder is more based off of objective things, right? Things that you can measure, versus a woman's ladder, or what she can contribute as love within a relationship, is more subjective things. Femininity, beauty, nurturing, caregiving. The issue is, outside of the standards and expectations of most modern men today, at the end, right? Like, if a divorce was to happen, and it happens in 50% of all cases, the man's ladder is the...
50% is a little bit of an overestimation, especially if you make good money. The more money you make, the lower your chances of getting divorced.
Only one that's in the goddamn equation, or at least most of it. And why? Because
I think it's like 44% in general, and that's like with everybody. But once you crack the 6-figure range and you keep going up, the chances of getting divorced goes down significantly.
Those are the things that you can measure, whether it be that he was, had the most amount of income, and the tangible things is what gets divvied up within a family court situation. And my thing is that, listen, if a man understands that going into it, right? If he goes into a marriage not getting a prenup and he understands that he makes the bulk of this, and if this was to fail, the burden of consequences mostly fall on him, I got no problem with it.
Sure,
my thing is that most of these men sign up for these contracts and they have no damn idea. They go into it for love as opposed to understanding that this is a business decision. But the concept of a growing of a ladder of love and then a retraction based off of certain things that don't get done here and there is why it is pertinent that there is a constant working on from both sides of how you can continue on showing up for each other. Because if not, without the reciprocation, that ish gonna fade.
As someone who's been married for 3 going on 4 years with 3 children, I can definitely tell you keeping a marriage strong and healthy is very similar to keeping yourself in good physical shape. You can coast on momentum for small pockets, but you do have to constantly be putting in that effort on an ongoing basis to keep things nice. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, if you stop trying, if either person stops trying for too long, shit will start to fall apart.
Let's go.
Do you see yourself getting married to a woman again, or is it more of just a life partner thing from this point going forward?
So I haven't married a second time, but I'm looking for a wife.
Why even take that risk?
Hey, yo, this is because whenever he talks to people that are single or people that are broken up, he's like, yo, why did you give it up? And when he's with people, are you suffice with this? Like, it's like there's never like a happy sentence. You know what I mean?
So what he normally does is he asks women why they quit on a marriage. And then he asks men why they want to get married. Why not just be a life partner? Why not do the high value man? He's actually being consistent. It's because you're not paying attention to the gender.
To who the gender. Yeah.
Why even take that risk?
There comes a point in your life when you start asking yourself the question, what am I going to do for the time that I have left? And that's when you start viewing life very differently. You realize that there's a number of days you have left to live, but you want to decide how to make those days really count. I'm not thinking anymore about how to build an empire because I did that. And so when you...
I was going to say, like, it's interesting because it's meets normal man, but I don't think this is this is a normal dude. Listen, dude like this walking around in Miami with the colored goatee, the hat on that low with the Hermes belt on. I bet you he's a multi-millionaire, which is by no stretch of the imagination a normal man. Nevertheless, though, what I find is that in these high-value marriages, it's a lot different than the repercussions or the consequences of a divorce within, if you're middle income, if you're average income. The entrepreneur types generally much more risky in their way of thinking, ergo why they're an entrepreneur. Many have the mindsets of, well, if I lose it, I'm smart enough where I could just build it back up again. But the brother's points about end of life is so important because no matter the content that we see across the internet, no matter what you're trying to do to avoid or defend, right? Like all of our lives are finite and the goal is to be as joyous as what you can with your time on this planet because you don't know when this shit gonna end. And if you are closing off so much to the potential of the opportunity, and I'm not even talking about from a marriage perspective, there are a lot of dudes out there that are just like, hey, I'm going my own way, bump these chicks, but you cannot put yourself into a mindset as if they all ain't shit. Yeah, you should raise your standards and requirements of what you tolerate. Like, don't be out here getting yourself wrapped up in a Travis Hunter situation or making some high-value man mistakes like a Shannon Sharp. But an ardent belief that they all ain't shit while being so defensive and so protective, you will never open yourself up enough for the potential of letting a good one in, because they do exist.
Yeah, man, and that is one of my biggest criticisms of the red pill space. It's so fear-based. It's so, oh my God, the women are evil. They're going to cheat on you. They're going to take all your shit. It kind of puts you in this fearful, paranoid, overly trying to control everything mindset when I really don't believe that's the way to get anything in life. You know what I'm saying? Anything that you become anxious about or for typically won't go well. And so that's my biggest issue with the red pill space. But like I was saying in the beginning of the video, MTR, he ain't too extreme with it. You feel me? So even he acknowledges, like, listen, there are good women out there and you shouldn't take this shit so much to the point where you're scared of all, getting into a a relationship. I'll definitely say if my marriage were to ever fall apart, which God forbid, but if it were, I would never get married again. I got married, and not that I wouldn't be with one woman for the rest of my life. My plan and entire intention is to be with my wife for the rest of my life. I'm just saying the institution of marriage was something that, you know, I did more from a religious point of view, you know, and a cultural point of view, but there is no need to actually sign a piece of paper to stay committed to one person for the rest of your life.
Step one in your life, you say to yourself, what do I want to do? How do I want to give back? Who do I want to teach? Who do I want to mentor? What do I want to leave as my legacy? And then you say to yourself, who do I want to do that with?
When
a man loves a woman,
and things don't work out, I think a lot of times people expect a whole bitter outcome. But what people also don't realize is that when divorce happens, men are like 60% more likely to get remarried. Not the women, men. You know, and for all the shit that marriage gets and how much people shit on it online, I realize it's almost exclusively really an online thing. And when men who are divorced are asked about marriage, they speak about it positive. Maybe not their last marriage, but the desire to want to be married is still there.
Yeah,
and
he's not lying.
Most of them do get remarried because as you age, the prospects of a single man are substantially worse than the prospects of a single woman. So online, y'all can live whatever y'all want to live. Y'all can, I'm be with my homies. Your bed full of like male pubes. Congrats. Nobody in real life trying to do this shit.
let's move in together.
Yeah, folks
Who's
get
doing
families, and then they move on. They're not kicking it like that.
They talking about fresh and fit.
Let's move in together with my homie.
Right.
No.
We got like
Who does
5
that?
coverage
I told you, fucking told you.
regarding why you should never live with your girlfriend. Oh, you could be the biggest, most, I guess, tallest, most
God.
masculine alpha out there. Oh, man, can we cuddle? And before you know it, time passes along and you're like, damn, you become I want to say the word cuck, but like you become kind of complacent because
Coconuts in Barbados.
Yeah.
you become like lazy in a way. Which I think is why you should live with your brothers
God
or
bless
live with
him.
someone that's like a man because
Oh, hell no.
When I see AbaNPreach doing content on like RedPill, right? Like, I always think like it's not RedPill per se that they have an issue with, right? Because like, for example, one of my friends asked me the other day, and like, am I a RedPill channel? And the first thing that I always ask now is I say, well, what do you think RedPill is? You define to me. And generally, people don't have an answer for this. And the reason for that is that the definition of red pill by most people is determined by the person that is giving the information, right? So when they're doing battle and they call it red pillar, it's based off of their dislike of certain content creators. I mean, you guys see my confusion when they talk about this move in with men shit. I don't know what they were talking about. And then to listen to this gentleman say this in the haphazard way that he is saying it helps me understand to a degree of the context of why they say it. Now, there is some validity of some dudes getting into relationships and they all up under their girl and they get softer, right? They start working out as much. They start to get that dad bod. Right? They forego some of their interests and their purpose because they get comfortable. And it's something about being mashed, right? Like your buddies, your friends, you go out, you're constantly challenging each other with like creative pursuits or, you know, with your work or your industry. Some of them may have sports hobbies, you know, like, yo, come out boxing with me, da-da-da. But in terms of like forming colonies to move in together, if that was the context that he was saying, then yeah, I just don't understand.
I can understand that. There's some people that function like that. I don't think that this guy is inherently wrong. He's not giving up on marriage and stuff like that. He didn't give up on marriage. The latter, I do this makes sense to some people in the way that people view relationship. Mm-hmm. That's not how I view it, but I get that a lot of, not even some people, a lot of people see it like that. He's not like, these women. No, he's like, no, I'm still looking. I'm good. He's not bitter about it. That's not red pill, I would say. He's just like, yeah, you know what? It didn't work. It decreased the ladder and then whatever.
So like I was saying earlier, right? In order to keep a marriage healthy and exciting and, you know, filled with the good shit that was there in the beginning, you have to keep putting in effort. It's like maintaining a car. But when you think about it, the older a car gets, the more effort you got to put into it in order to maintain it. I suppose the same could be said about your body. The older you get, the more you actually have to try to stay in shape. Well, sometimes it's easier to just get a new car. You know what I'm saying? You can maintain a car all the way till the end of your life and it be in great condition. And I believe you can do that with a marriage. But I see why men and women after 15, 20, 30 years of marriage end up getting a divorce. And then the guy's like, yeah, I want a new wife. Because it just got to the point where, for whatever reason, one or both parties involved no longer wanting to maintain the relationship, putting the effort to maintain the relationship. And so the marriage fell apart. But now, if you're able to go and acquire a new car, well, it's just like going to the car dealership and driving off the car lot with a car with 20,000 miles. You know what I'm saying? You got all of this time ahead of you where you don't have to put in as much effort in order to be excited and enjoy the ride. So it makes sense to me why there are a lot of men who, despite getting a divorce and maybe even losing a lot of assets in the divorce, still go out after the fact and want to get married again. But I think the reason they want to get married, like put a ring on it, you know what I'm saying, do the paperwork, that's more of a cultural and a religious thing. There really is no need. That piece of paper isn't what is going to hold the relationship together. It's your dedication to the other person.
I'm going to look for something else. I'm going to look for a wife. The complication of a divorce, you can be bitter very quickly.
Listening to this guy, two things. The first part is this young man's like, why would you get remarried? He's thinking about it from the fear standpoint, the outcomes that are negative when you have some
he's just asking a question.
Get divorced. But if you listen to the man who's actually been through it, he don't speak with it with like this tremendous pain or whatever it is. He's looking towards the future and be like, oh, listen, I don't got much time in this world. Like my days are numbered. So what am I here to do? He said, I wanted to mentor. Who do I leave my legacy to? Who do I help? He's not thinking about Hugh Hefner trying to fuck, because that's just not. That shit becomes less and less content and joy as you get older. The only thing this man's focused on is how does he give back? That's his words. And I identify with that because even in me in my 30s, I've already weaned off of that shit so much. It's generally dudes who have some level of dysfunction in their life who are still on that like, fuck bitches, get money up. That's it. So it's just, when you listen to him, you can tell that he's ready to.
Nah, I disagree with that. Your sex drive and your ambition dropping as you get older is a function of one thing and one thing only, and that's your testosterone levels going down, which do naturally start to decline after the age of 30 and start to decline rapidly after the age of 35, which ABBA, I'm pretty sure, is in that age range. So that's more than likely the accurate reason why you've waned off that shit. If you got in a nice healthy dose of, I'm not even going to go there, but wet pussy, perky tits, and fucking fat stacks of cash never fucking get old, dude. I don't think that shit ever gets old.
Assume responsibilities and to really be a leader in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of men on a smaller scale as they get older identify with that. And I commend that. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think it shows a lot of maturity. And I also want to give a bit of credit to the guy who's doing the interview. You know, we shit on him all the time because he does these interviews. He's always kind of goofy, and he's still a goofy person. But here he is, not being biased and hiding this kind of interview. It's like, you know what? Even though this goes against the narrative that I have, let me just put it out there. And that's worth commending. And the last thing I'll say is, I understand the point of marriage is to be together forever, but that doesn't always happen. And I personally don't think that it's necessarily failure. Me personally. I know other people have a different view of it, but I could imagine plenty of scenarios where I'm potentially married with somebody for 20 years. You have all these happy marriages. You birth beautiful children. They grow up to be great people. Your ex-wife helped shape them in a lot of good ways, but you guys fall apart. Is that a failure? I don't know. I put that question to you guys. Would you guys inherently see that as a failure if you could imagine in those 20 years how many happy memories, how many great things, and see your partner reflected in your kids and being proud of your children? Is that necessarily a
reality is nobody ever fails in life. Everyone gets exactly what they deserve. Everybody reaps what they sow. If your marriage falls apart, it's because you stop putting in the effort to keep your marriage together. Just like if your car breaks down, it's because you stop maintaining it. It's that simple. You can find videos, for instance, of men in their 60s and 70s with six packs and like amazing physiques doing calisthenics in New York. You like go look up 60-year-old calisthenic guy or 70-year-old calisthenic guy. And, you know, they say they're not on anything a lot of the times. They just fucking eat a healthy diet and just never stopped working out consistently. But reality is, how many guys do you know in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s who are every single day working out consistently hard for hours? Bro, I don't believe that people's bodies fall apart because they start to get older. Their bodies start to age because they stop doing the shit they were doing when they were younger. Like, for instance, if you're in your 30s or 40s right now, I'm about to ask you, when's the last time you jumped? Seriously, like, when's the last time you left the ground more than 1 foot? You jumped. And then look at children. Children are jumping all the time, bro. They're jumping off of shit, trampolines, climbing shit, jumping down. At some point in your life, you just stopped jumping. And then you stopped skipping. And then you stop running. And your body, but it's not because you lost the ability to do those things, you just stop doing them. You know what I'm saying? You don't use it, you lose it. Well, it's the same thing with a marriage. I don't think any marriage fails. I think people just give up. Let me put a caveat on that. If the marriage started off good and healthy, if the marriage started off in, you know what I'm saying, on a bad place, like you married a gold digger, or somebody got married when they didn't want to get married in the first place, or something like that, that's the exception. But if you have two people who once upon a time, they were in love with each other and they are relatively healthy people, right? Normal people mentally. They don't have any crazy mental illnesses, and they loved each other and they're just normal people. If that marriage falls apart, it's because they stopped trying. So they gave up.
Again, thinking about the young man in Miami, and I'm saying young man, but he's obviously a little bit older, he might be in his 60s, but listening to the way that he articulates that answer. And, I understand what Aba is saying right here, but what's interesting is that I think that he's commending the RP YouTuber, if he would describe himself that way, but he's commending him for showing some content and asking these questions, and it shows a different outcome than what generally the outcome is during these interviews. And he's commending the young man for showing that even though at the same time they are reacting to this one guy's unique circumstance, they don't react to guys' circumstances who say that they will never get married. So it's like AbaNPreach, are currently not reacting to the other side of the coin where men say vehemently, I will never ever get married again. So it's kind of like you're commending him for something that generally, and I don't know, I don't look at all of their content nowadays, but let's just take it from a numbers perspective. Last year, in 2024, over 900,000 women initiated divorce against their husband, all right? Within that same time, 300,000 men initiated divorce within that same exact time. Now, of the aggregate of those two numbers, we can say 60-ish% of those men will get eventually remarried again. That 60-ish% is not a 90-ish%. There's a lot of dudes out there like, I am never going to do this again. And they have the horror stories to boot. My thing is that give the people on the platforms both sides of the coin. Give them the good as well as the bad so that they can learn from the situations or the mistakes that are being made. And so that with that, they can do enough damage to maybe not make those mistakes from these other situations going into the future. But to me, it's really about the stage of life when all of this happens, right? If you're like the brother that they're interviewing, he already has a successful business, right? Already has a certain level of stability, has already multiple years in a marriage and has kids, right? Like, so he can lead with a much calmer mindset, but there's a lot others that don't have this conclusion. And it's okay. We could talk about the men that want to get remarried and the reasons why. And I love that man's answer. Life is only but so finite. And even as I just turned 40, it's something, and actually watching my father pass away 2 years ago, it is something that I think about each and every day, how finite that my life is. So I intimately understand the reality of the finiteness. Is that a word? Finiteness of our lives.
The finitude.
All right. But it's equipping those with the knowledge, baby.
I don't know if that's a word. It just felt right.
It's not to scare away completely, but to equip with the knowledge. Most people or most men don't even understand the benefits of utilizing a prenup prior to a marriage, and they allow the government to write their marriage contract. The government, like, they're known for doing things fair, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say if you are a man and you have like a lot of money or a lot of assets or successful businesses prior to getting married, definitely go ahead and get a prenup, dude. You know what I'm saying? Look, you have to understand a lot of these traditions and customs in regards to marriage were set in a time where marriage was taboo. They were developed in a time where people did not get divorced. It was seen as such a shameful, embarrassing thing. People just didn't get divorced. And so now divorce is a lot more acceptable. It's not nearly as taboo as it used to be. It's hardly taboo at all. And so it's a reality, and I think that you should get a prenup if you have the money and the assets. Of course, if you're a broke young person when you get married, then it doesn't really matter. Or at least I don't think it matters as much, but you could talk to an expert about that if you're concerned. I think it's fair that anything you build with somebody, that when you guys split up, you know what I'm saying, you split up the pie. If you both had nothing when you get into the marriage, then why would you want to not leave her anything if you guys split up, if you built something over the course of, 10, 15 years?
That created that wonderful institution we all know as the DMV. You been into the DMV lately? It's better now than it's ever been. But you've been going to the DMV in the early 2000s and the 90s, baby. You'll be there for 3 days trying to figure out what the hell is going on, all right? Knowledge is power at the end of the day. That's what I'm trying to get to. Let's keep going.
Video about a basketball player.
Okay.
And it was always the same journalist that was asking him the same question. He was kind of sick and tired of it.
Do you view this season as a failure?
Oh my God. You asked me the same question last year, Eric.
And his response was good because they didn't have a good game. And the journalist was always referring to whenever he didn't have a good game as a failure. And he's like, yo, you're always talking to me about this failure stuff. What are you talking about? So I should throw the whole thing in the trash?
Do you get the promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No.
We're gonna discard everything. We're gonna discard the whole relationship. That's where you have to quantify the bitterness that you have in the relationship. You have to look back and look at the positive sides of it. Yeah. Even some people that I fell out with, I could still see like
the positives of the relationship.
Moments. That person being covered is a bitch ass nigga, but like we had some. Yeah,
and it's kind of like going back to what Abba was saying earlier, like how you can have a 20-year marriage, and then at the end of those 20 years, you guys get a divorce, and it's not a failure. If you guys manage to not sink yourselves in a ton of debt, maybe purchase a house or two, raise healthy children that feel loved and secure in themselves, and at the 20-year mark, you guys are like, hey, like I'm done with this. Then that wouldn't be a failure. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I also think it's awesome if you say, hey, we said till death do us part, and so you choose to continue to put more into it, because I don't think it's starting over is one of the most handicapping thing that people do in life, right? Things that people do in lives. People are always starting over, dude. The people who really build amazing, successful things are people who just keep going, bro. Keep doing the same thing till fucking death. That's the person who becomes a master at their craft. That's the person who builds amazing things. Failure only even is a thing in the eyes of other people. You don't fail at anything if there's no one to see you not cross the finish line. You know what I'm saying? Like, feeling like a failure is really just a form of shame and embarrassment out of worrying about what other people think. That's why one of the most essential things you can ever do in this life is stop caring about what other people think about you, man. If you can get to that point where you realize that you are the master of your reality, you are judge and executioner, you are the only person whose opinion matters in regards to your life, I mean, it just opens up a whole new world for you.